When I married my husband, David, I knew that his son, Ethan, was part of the package. I had met Ethan a handful of times before David, and I officially tied the knot, and he seemed like a good kid. At the time, he was just finishing high school, bright-eyed, hopeful, and talking nonstop about the future he envisioned. He wanted to study business, maybe start his own company one day, and he seemed to have that kind of spark that makes you believe he actually could. David and I had our own whirlwind romance. I was in my late 30s, divorced once already, and I never thought I'd find someone who truly understood me. But David did. He had this calmness about him, this steadiness that balanced out my impulsive tendencies. By the time we got married, I wasn't just saying yes to a new life with him, I was saying yes to becoming part of Ethan's life too. At first, things were smooth enough. Ethan would visit us on weekends, then longer stretches during the summer. After he turned 21, he began spending more time with us again, partly because his college was nearby and partly, I think, because he liked the sense of stability our home gave him. I tried my best to be more than just Dad's wife. I wanted him to feel like he had another person in his corner. But then came the day that changed everything. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon. David had been called into work for an emergency. He's an architect, and one of the projects had run into problems. That left me at home with Ethan, who had been unusually quiet all morning. He'd come down for breakfast, barely said a word, then disappeared back into his room. I assumed it was college stress. Finals were approaching, and I knew how heavy that load could be. By late afternoon, I decided to check in on him. At first, it was just concern. I wanted to make sure he was eating, maybe offer to make him something warm. But the moment I opened his door, I walked straight into a scene I never thought I'd witness. Ethan wasn't alone. Sitting on his bed was a young woman, someone I had never seen before. At first glance, it looked innocent enough, two people just talking. But the closeness between them, the way their hands lingered when they touched, the look in their eyes, it told me this wasn't just a casual friendship. My instinct was to step back, to apologize for barging in, but something in my chest froze me in place. The girl noticed me first. She pulled her hand away quickly, her cheeks flushing crimson. Ethan, on the other hand, looked like he had been caught in the middle of a fire. This isn't what it looks like," he stammered, though his words only made the situation heavier. I could have left it at that. I could have shut the door, pretended I hadn't seen anything, and gone back to the safety of my own little bubble. But something made me stay. Something told me this moment meant more than just a college kid hiding a girlfriend from his dad's new wife. I crossed my arms, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Then why don't you tell me what it is, Ethan?" The girl shifted uncomfortably, glancing at him as if waiting for permission to speak. Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked so much like his father in that moment, stubborn, proud, unwilling to admit when he'd been cornered. Finally, he sighed. "This is Claire," he said softly. She's not just a friend." I nodded slowly, letting the silence stretch. My heart was racing, but not for the reasons I expected. Something about the way Ethan said it, the heaviness in his voice, made me realize this wasn't some innocent college romance. There was something hidden, something heavier under the surface. "Does your dad know about her?" I asked carefully. That was when his face went pale. He shook his head quickly, almost too quickly. Claire lowered her gaze, her hands clasped tightly together in her lap. I didn't push further in that moment. Instead, I excused myself, told them dinner would be ready in an hour, and closed the door. But the weight of what I had seen stayed with me. My instinct screamed that there was more to the story, and I couldn't shake the unease growing inside me. Later that evening, Ethan came downstairs alone. He hovered near the kitchen doorway while I stirred a pot of soup, clearly unsure how to begin. "I'm sorry about earlier," he said finally, his voice quiet. I set the spoon down and turned to face him. "Ethan, I'm not upset that you have someone in your life. I'm just worried. You looked scared. And Claire didn't look comfortable either. If something's going on, you can talk to me." For a long time, he just stood there, chewing on his bottom lip. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, "It's not what you think. Claire, she's not supposed to be here. He cut himself off abruptly, shaking his head. "Forget it. I can't. And with that, he turned and left. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of them sitting together, the tension in his voice, the guilt on his face, it kept circling in my mind. Something about this wasn't right. And though I wanted to trust that Ethan would tell me when he was ready, deep down I knew I had already stepped into a storm I couldn't ignore. What I didn't realize then was how deep this storm ran, and how much it would shake not just Ethan's world, but mine, David's, and the fragile bond we were all trying to build as a family.